Hello everyone, my name is Sadia Hussein, FGM survivor and the Executive Director of BSI Kenya. This week, we are hosting amazing ladies for the second edition of the Survivors Safe Space. We have Catherine from Kuria, we have Mumina from Isiolo, and Josephine Indirias from Laikipia. And all of them will share their experiences of how FGM affected their lives. In partnership with Anti-FGM Board, BSI Kenya will bring you the stories of the survivors because the wearer of the shoe knows where it pinches the most. We are saying FGM ends with us.
I underwent FGM at the age of 12, and worst is it was done by a healthcare provider, so that was medicalization. So coming from a community where my parents and my mother and father were very much educated, I think the twitch was to come away from the cultural component. We need to bring up a healthcare provider to do it. But in my mind, I always have the memory of the lady holding a blade in gloves. Then I'm down, I'm trying to scream, I don't know what is going on. Then I was one person who never used to stay at home. I used to stay in Nairobi. So going home was once in a while because of other reasons. So that's the component and the time I realized decision makers are not parents in some communities. Decision makers may not be men. Decision makers can be women, the old women who are very, very key. So the decision maker was somebody who was very, very, a woman in the household who was very, very key in anybody listening to them. So the component of, Sadia, you've asked, being a healthcare worker, why is it important for us to stop medicalization because it's the new trend coming in? The trauma after female genital mutilation does not pick who did it. Even if it's a traditional birth attendant, traditional circumciser, if it's a healthcare provider, the trauma and the effects of female genital mutilation stands. One, bleeding is there, because I saw bleeding, and everyone was trying to use other means to stop the bleeding, irrespective of that being a healthcare worker doing it. Second thing, the pain is there, so it doesn't choose anybody. If you're doing it, like, you'll get less pain. The pain is still there because there's no analgesics used at that effect. Then the worst is psychological, emotional trauma that women undergo and they never speak out. I am a midwife. The many women I have met and I get an opportunity to speak to them, most of the women will tell you, if I was given a chance and taken back to be in my younger age, I would not have undergone the cut. Then that shows us the main reason why these women are not speaking out is because they're undergoing a lot of psychological, emotional trauma, and there's nobody to listen to them. Because we look at the outward part of a lady, but nobody looks at the deeper, the inside part of them that has carried a lot of pain, a lot of guilt. At times the women feel if they had a chance, they would have run away. But it was against them that the community felt this is very important. It took me very many years to even forgive this healthcare worker because I used to see her. She's from my community. Anytime I see her coming towards me, I want to dodge and go the other side because to me, she was a symbol of pain. She was a symbol of, it's like she let me down because I believed she was the best person to protect me at my age. But she was never there to protect me. In fact, she brought more harm to me than what would have been expected in any healthcare provider to look at our client or our patient. So I'll tell the community it's not about medicalization because if you look at the law, it's illegal. FGM is illegal irrespective of who does it. And then there's no sugarcoating issues of saying if I do it with a healthcare provider, it is much better, it is decent. There's no decency being done by a healthcare provider. There's no, you don't get any dignity, you don't protect yourself from the dangers of FGM. So as I summarize, I'll still say, Sadia, this is a very good step in bringing up a safe space for the survivors because this is something that the community need to embrace and have communication. Because I've been doing advocacy for some time, apart from the time that I went back to school in my community. And most of them, I would use the medical component. What are the medical effects of female genital mutilation? And I moved away from what I call rumors. I moved away from getting negative communication. You go to a community, and the first thing you tell them is, if you undergo FGM, you will not deliver normally, you will all go for a cesarean section. What kind of communication are you giving them? And then in that community, you get 90% of these women that you're speaking to, most of them delivered normally. But still, there's a 10% at risk. So how do we bring up the communication, the community to understand? As you're talking about medical effects, it is not that it didn't get you, it might get somebody else. And this somebody else needs to be protected. That is very, very key. I moved away from going and telling the community, you know, if you get circumcised, and in a forum you're looking at, you have to look at the forum that I was really looking at different forums. Because I'll go to a forum where you're talking to girls who have gone to school, and you're telling them, if you undergo FGM, you will drop out of school. They're still in school. It is true, FGM causes drop out of school. But how do you blend your communication? How do you blend your messaging? So that the messaging reaches the intended audience, and then it's packaged in a way it does not cause more trauma, and it does not cause somebody to doubt even what you're talking about. So it's key, as also survivors, let us look at how we tackle the issues of speaking out. It is not just about telling our stories, but it's about telling stories that are constructive and can create impact and change somebody. Because I never told my girls have never run in any rescue center. They are my witness. We stay with them at home, but I've made them realize this is not something that needs to be done from a very young age. So they will go during the cut season, they will move around as the girls are being cut, but they don't have interest. Not that I put them or hid them somewhere. So as survivors and as parents, we have a responsibility to break the cycle. And breaking this cycle starts with us. How do you break the cycle in your own house? Because you can never tell me you want to change the community while yourself, you've not changed it at that capacity. So as survivors, our shoe is very big. Because 1, we understand the process. 2, we have all these side effects of female genital mutilation. But now, how do we package our messages to the community? How do we convince the community to stop female genital mutilation? So it's high time we stop telling bedtime stories and use very constructive language, very good communication skills, and then look at our audience. If you're talking to men, let us give information that works with men so well, without stigmatization. As I end, there's one statement that I always say, Sadia. When you get men, we are telling men, our young boys, do not marry girls who are cut. And they move it out with a message. That is so wrong. Because young girls are cut without their consent. So why do we stigmatize them? Yet at that time they were undergoing the cut, they did not consent for it. If they had consented, that's different. But a minor can never consent. So when you want to give information and really clap, so who takes care of these girls who underwent the cut without consent? They are devastated. They are very, very young. Who takes care of the emotional issues? So we should not segregate either cut or uncut. Let's stop stigma. Let us listen to everyone. Let us hold each other's hand. And I believe we have gone a long way from ending the cuts. So where we are moving on, just a little bit. Just changing our strategies, switching them up, looking at what works well for different people. That's why I echo healthcare workers. Let us use person-centered communication. Person-centered communication means I get Catherine and ask Catherine, why do you practice FGM? And try and get that reason that they are using. It's a personalized reason. Catherine might be practicing FGM because my great-grandfather underwent the cut, so it's continuous. But Sadia might be practicing FGM because the community feels it is good. So these are two different people, but two different reasons. So person-centered communication gives them an opportunity. Everybody stops FGM. We target the reason that you're giving to end the cut, by giving you the correct information, not an umbrella. When you're coming to the clinic, I want to tell you all these stories, and maybe the reason you're giving me is just simple that I'll just need to convince you by giving you the correct messaging, and you're through with it. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm starting from where Catherine left. Okay, thank you so much, Catherine. So now back to you, Josephine. Josephine, you are also a survivor who has said it happened to me but not to my daughter. Please share with us your journey.
Thank you very much. My name is Josephine Dirias, Director of Mkogodo Girls Empowerment Program in Laikipia. I come from the Maasai community of Laikipia, and FGM is a rite of passage between childhood to manhood according to the culture. And I went through FGM at a very tender age, around 14 years, because I had a sister who was behind me who never went to school, so she was very ready for marriage according to the culture. So when I was in grade 7, I went through FGM, and unfortunately that time, they used to prepare for a big ceremony before the cut. So I came home, there was all these wines, ready, traditional wines for that ceremony. And me being the firstborn, there are a lot of restriction for a firstborn, because they believe that once a firstborn messed up or cry, it's like you send a bad trend to your younger sisters. So definitely there were instructions, like my parents were so happy that I'm going through the FGM, and they had high expectation from me that I must bear the pain, so that for the sake of my sisters. So when the actual day came, in the evening, I get to meet let me call her godmother. And now in the tradition, she's supposed to be my mother. So and now in the morning, you get to be poured a lot of cold water. They undressed me. Then I sat on a skin, and of course, whether the pain, I mean, you had already been prepared. You know, you are now a firstborn. So they love calling me Ndirias. So that's my name. Ndirias, you know, you are now a firstborn. This is the first thing. And please, don't shame your father. Don't shame your sibling. So then I went through the pain, and I couldn't cry. No matter the pain, I had to bear the pain, because I have already been urged the consequences of me crying as the firstborn. At around 10 a.m., I was taken outside with a mission to check whether they were able to cut the whole clitoris. And in circumstances whereby the clitoris was not cut all, they always repeat. So I was bleeding a lot, and I was given blood mixed with milk to retain the blood that I was losing. But in my mentality, I mean, there was a lot of celebration going on in our homestead. People were happy. My parents were happy that I did not shame them, crying while I was going through the cut. So it was like the climax of the pride of my parents that I did not cry during the cut. So I bear the pain. We nursed the wound, because we were me and my sister. And they took care of us for almost 3 weeks while we were nursing the wound. And then after that, I went back to school. But unfortunately, my younger sister, who never went to school, got married as a young child of 13 years. Then life continued normally. Then lucky enough, after grade 8, class 8, I went to secondary school. And I was lucky to have gone to secondary school in a different society. I went in Nyeri, whereby it's a different tribe. Then I remember in high school, while in a class, the teacher was talking about cultural practices, and I could proudly raise my hand up and say, yes, I went through FGM. And the other girls were laughing at me. So that's when it started hitting me that, oh, so it's wrong to go through FGM. Then from there, I started being in denial. I couldn't tell anybody that, yes, I went through FGM. So, but at the back of my mind, I was asking myself, why then did my parents take me through this thing? Yet in other tribe, it's, it's like an abomination. Then, but I couldn't talk about it, and because it was still going on in my community. Then, when I got married, I had my firstborn daughter. In the hospital, I was lucky to have a friend who was a nurse. She was handling me, and she told me, Josephine, I have to do episiotomy. And I was like, what's that? I have to cut you so that you can have a safe delivery because of the scar you have gone through FGM. So I was like, oh, so you mean this thing is harmful? So that's when I was now recalling that, wow. So why do our parents let us go through this thing in the name of culture, yes, yet it's very harmful? Then, so when I had my child, you were supposed to be celebrating, but for me, I was not celebrating because I was now nursing the cat. I took like a week cleaning it, sitting on hot water. That was the instruction that I was given. Lucky enough for me, I was in the hospital. Then when I had my second-born daughter, I was so scared because I couldn't imagine being again cut, but now I had no option. The doctor was ready to do it again, which they did. Then when I had my third-born, I chose to go for a CS because the kind of scars I have of the episiotomy, I wouldn't take it anymore. So I chose to go for CS to have my twins girls. And that is why I took an initiative to talk to my community that FGM is harmful and it's affecting the life of girls and women.
In my community, when we got married, and when we are pregnant, there's a time like a baby shower, where it reaches at some point whereby we will call all grandmothers, sheikhs to bless us so that we will have a very healthy baby. But for me, it is not like that. For me, it is an opposite because, and then these old people, they will pray for me to have a healthy baby. We pray to God to have a babies, but not to pray so that He will take my baby's life away. Because my doctor told me that the baby is premature, she won't survive. And he told me he doesn't want me to go to see baby. Even I can't see her because I came with like a 13.5 pint of blood, but I lose all of it. I was just like a garbage. I can't even stand up because what the blood that remains in my body is only 3 pint. I lost a lot of it. And then why did I lost that blood, all that blood? It's because I believe this baby is premature, and everything that comes with a premature baby is premature, including the placenta. So while they are trying to save my daughter, the placenta just flip in. So they are trying to get the placenta out, just like that, for a very long time, like 5 hours. Then in this process, that is when I lost a lot of blood. So when I went back to the ward, I was asking this question myself: why will I pray to God so that He will take my baby's life away? Where I came from, people will pray to have a healthy baby. But it's like the pain from the head to toe, from my soul, every part of my body is paining. So for me, at a very younger age, I think I was so strong. And the following day, it's like everybody is coming to the room and they go. They want to tell me my baby is no more because she was alive and she was supported by machine for a whole day and a night. But the following day at around 10 o'clock, she was gone. So for me, I take this pain, but I never realized it is still an FGM. For me, I think I was so ignorant because I didn't have any people who tells me that this is because of FGM, apart from the doctor who just mentioned it and didn't tell me indeed this is what FGM caused to me. Then I went back after a year again, I conceived. And this round, he told me, if you conceive again, just come back. And unfortunately, I didn't went back to him. And at the same specific time, 5 months and 2 weeks, again my water broke. And this time, I went out of my house. I remember very well, I stand on the road and said, no, I won't go back to that hospital because they are the people who contributed to the loss of my baby. So I will choose different hospital so that my baby will be saved. So I went to other hospital, but again, the baby, this round, it's a baby boy, he died in the process of delivery. So I went back home. This time, I sat down and I reflected back all my life, what I went through, why did I went through. So the only part I understood is that when the doctor told me this is an FGM, it's still at this time, nobody is still there to tell me this is because of this. For me, they'll tell me, don't worry, another baby will come because you are so young. Nobody is telling you that you have experienced pain, you have experienced anxiety, trauma. Let's make sure that you go through counseling. Nobody is even mentioning about the counseling or what. They only tell me, no problem, God will give you another baby. I know God will bless me with the baby, but I needed psychosocial support at this time, but I didn't get it. So this time I went back and you know, there's a lot of criticism in the family. The in-laws are now even blaming me. You know, I remember one of my auntie told me, she didn't directly told me, but she tells other members of my family that, as usual, she will lose another baby. That is the word I will never forget. And until today, I'm like 10 years plus, and we have never met. But I'm not even regretting it, because she's a woman like me. Why will she, as young as I am, she could have even lied to me. Even if I will not get this baby, she could have told me, like the rest of the members of the family, you will, you know, sometimes the truth fact, she won't have, we don't have to tell the truth because we know how it pains. So this round, I just went back to school because I think for me, the baby thing is I'm done with the baby. So in the process, it's like I wanted to prove something to these members of the family that I'm so healthy and I can still get this baby. So what I did is that I heed the advice of the doctors. Remember, he told me in the beginning, if you conceive, just come back. So I just prepared my mind, everything, my emotions, and lucky enough, I got pregnant, and this time I went back to this doctor, the same doctor. So he told me, Mumina, sit down. You have a hole. Your womb has a very big hole. So what we'll do, I'll just prescribe some medicine, go back and take it. At 12 weeks of your pregnancy, come back. I will take you to the theater and see that hole. Then you will continue to carry your pregnancy. So I went back. He did what he did, and my water broke. But this round is not even a water, but I started to bleed. But I don't know, for some reason, I'm so courageous. I never believed in death. I have this belief that I will make it. For me, it is, I want to prove something to people that I don't have a problem. I have a baby. Why will not I continue to have them if I want to? So when I went to hospital, he told me that this is exactly 7 months. My baby's lung is not matured, but with the technology, he will give me an injection staying for 12 to 36 hours. If it works, he will take me to theater and remove the baby. So that is what happened actually. I didn't even reach 36 hours. After 12 hours, I started to feel a lot of pain. Then I went to theater, he removed my baby. Now I have 2 daughters and a bouncing baby boy. Then when I'm so proud. So when I came back, I remembered so many girls of my age wanted to come and ask, how did I got the baby? Because there are so many people who are not even, they don't have a voice. They don't say anything. They conceive, they lose their baby, and they just keep quiet. Because society, nobody is telling you the reality. It is like we are just in a movie. Nobody is demystifying it, the reality of FGM. So whenever they use other people to call me, so what I tell them, to come personally so that I will tell them my journey. I have so many successful stories because many of these young women suffered what I suffered from. But when they heed a doctor's advice and started to change from the nurses to a gynecologist, they were able to conceive it. So after all this, I learned so many things. Because these girls, as far as they have this education, nobody is so confident to come and ask you, what happened? How did you get this baby? You know, they will use a long channel to reach me. So I started to create an organization. It's called Women Rising. Actually, I'm not the only founder. We came as the like-minded, we came together. So we sat down, we talked about it, we are all survivors, and then we started to bring Women Rising. Women Rising actually is a place where young women and even older young girls have their own voices. They will share everything. Actually, I remember very well, 2020, I met Sadia at a forum. Then we started to talk. She's a mother, I was a mother. Then CEO, I don't know whether you remember this, we were even with Caro. We talked about ourselves, how we are survivors. At that time, we don't want even people to hear that we are survivors, you know, because people will look us at at different ideas and different perspective. But all these things, it make me stronger because, it's only your experience that make you stronger. It is not other people's story, it is my story. And then I vowed that, I'm so sorry to say, Madam CEO, whether there will be an anti-FGM board, whether there will be an president directive, that small word that my doctor told me, it is an FGM, that is sticking to my mind. That is the only word, actually, I got to hear, apart from the training I went and came to know that FGM is a very harmful practice. So when I went back, this is one message I went back home with, that my daughter, no matter what, nobody will going to make them to pass through this cut. As truth to this, my younger daughter at the age of 10, she wrote even a poem, about the FGM. And if I look back since 2020 and 2023, it's only 3 different years apart, but I'm so strong. And then there's a group of people that I can appreciate it so much because I remember that apart from us being survivors of FGM, there's something called emotional well-being that people forgot, about our mental well-being. Because in the beginning, I only believed that mental illness is for the mad people on the street who are collecting litters and stuff. But we forgot that all of us in this room, we have a mental illness, or we have experienced in our life mental illness. It's only that the degree differs. If it's too deep, people will remove their clothes and go out. But for us, we are going through so many things. Yes, we are not going outside to collect litters, but how are we going to take care of ourselves? So in my organization, actually, it's something that Dr. Leila introduced it to me. She took me in the process after she had all my experiences and stories. So she created for me this space. The space is so healthy. I gain a lot of knowledge. Then the little thing that I got from her, I just carry it and went back to my community. So right now, as we are speaking, I have 230 survivors safe space, each from 10 wards. It's called Mother-Daughter Forum, whereby mothers and daughters now reflecting back on my life. My mother never sat me down and told me about the FGM. So I believe even the others, they are the same like me. So what we did is that this is the only time we have to confront our mothers. Why did they took us through the cut? So it's called a Mother-Daughter Forum, whereby we confronted our mothers. And then what we learned, the outcome is that our mothers are just survivors like us. You know, it is not that, yes, they failed to address it, but that is how they were taught. They are a survivor. My grandmother is a survivor. My great-grandma is a survivor. So our generation has failed us. But in the forum, two things happen: acknowledgement and forgiveness. Because I'm a survivor and my mother is a survivor. If I will not forgive my mother, I will carry this burden and I will not heal myself. So for me to get this healed, I must forgive my mother so that I can attend to other survivors. So the circle it was very intense, but at last we all forgive each other and give each other a psychosocial support, so that even the one who didn't have a voice, now they are having a voice and they are advocate. They are ready even to go to the grassroots to work with us. That is one thing that I'm contented with. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. I think Mumina has generalized her story, and also she has spoke about what she's doing, and I think from her story you've all learned that there is a stigma before the cut, and that's what moves girls to run into the trap of FGM, to run away from the community stigma. But again, both of them has told us that there was also another stigma after the cut. Meaning, even the doctor who was supposed to help her deliver is like, even you went through this. So without even clearly trying to support her and give psychosocial support, counseling, maybe taking through her why this has happened, and trying to understand her feelings, her emotions. So it's not our fault that we go through this, but indeed survivors of FGM go through double stigma. We went through a lot of stigma before the cut, and now here we are. The world feels like the survivors of FGM are useless, which is not true. And that's why we are saying FGM ends with us, and our daughters should not go through female genital mutilation. And I want to come back to you, Josephine, maybe in a nutshell, why do you think survivors of female genital mutilation must share their voices? Because I believe across the world we are talking about 200 million women and girls who are survivors of female genital mutilation. In Kenya, we are talking about 15% of FGM prevalence. That's over 4 million women and girls who are living with the scars of FGM. And of course, with the anti-FGM board and the BSI, we feel that indeed survivors must share their stories. But As you, Josephine, as a survivor of FGM, why do you think we have to share our voices, our stories?
Thank you very much. Honestly, since the act was passed, I think there is a lot that is happening under the carpet, and people fear to talk about it, and most people could even die without ever opening or knowing more about the FGM and the consequences. So survivors coming out and talking about it will help even those people who are unable to talk about it, and will, I mean, for me, I always say that I'm a healed survivor. It's something I can talk about it, as much as I don't want my daughters to go through it, and any other girl. I will love the mothers who are in the village, especially in the rural community, to own up the harm they have gone through. And that is where we have a challenge, because I mean, sometimes you talk to mothers and she's like, I have 9 children and I went through it and I did not go through that. I went through it. So it is for these survivors to listen the stories from other survivors, to be able to realize, yes, I'm harmed. Yes, I'm wounded. I need to heal. It's through the stories of other survivors that they will be able to open up. Otherwise, because a lot of people are like assuming the pain, the consequences of FGM, because that is the environment they grew up. That is what other people have gone through. Like now we are talking of my mother went through, and all our generation in the old. So when you start talking, they are like, are you out of your mind? What's wrong? I mean, I went through it. My mother went through. So we keep on passing a pain from one generation to another, simply because people are not coming out to talk the effect of this thing. Yes.
Thank you so much. And now we are coming to the end of our talk show. Indeed, there is importance of survivors sharing their stories, and we have the CEO of the Anti-FGM Board and the chair, of course, of the Anti-FGM Board, who are both survivors of female genital mutilation. We have shared these painful experiences. Sometimes back, we even cried in a radio, I remember. So we also started the first edition when we were alone, and now we have at least audience. So next third edition, we are looking to have a big conference for survivors in Isiolo, where we all come together. The first day is just crying, sharing our painful stories. Then the second day, we can ask each other, today I'm really impressed. You have 4 daughters who are saved from FGM, 2 daughters. The other one had 2. She had 1, she had 3. So I have 3 as well. So if you add those, how many girls, just us today who have spoken, how many girls are those? There are more than 20 girls from just 6 survivors. So I believe if we reach out to other hotspot counties and we really amplify the voices of FGM survivors, then we will be close towards eradicating female genital mutilation. And thank you so much, the Anti-FGM Board, because the wearer of the shoe knows where it pinches the most. And thank you for actually believing in the voices of survivors. And for me, I feel everyone is trying to run to end FGM because they want to save our daughters. How about we are empowered? Because remember, the religious leaders can reverse their decision, right? The men can reverse their decision and say, no, FGM was better than now. Anyone else can reverse their decision. But when you empower us, the survivors, we will never reverse our decision, and our daughters will be safe forever. So thank you so much for coming. Momina, thank you so much. Now it's my pleasure to welcome the CEO of the Anti-FGM Board to speak to us, and then, of course, welcome the chair. Thank you so much.
My name is Bernadette Loloju. I'm the CEO of the Anti-Female Genital Mutilation Board. This is a government agency under the Ministry of Gender, Culture, the Arts and Heritage, under the State Department for Gender and Affirmative Action. The board came into place through the Prohibition of Female Genital Mutilation Act 2011. I'm very, very happy today to be here as a survivor of FGM. the government really made a very good decision to give me the mantle of running this board as a survivor. Because what I can say is that I am one of the 200 million women who have been statistically put in the map in the world as having undergone the painful, traumatic female genital mutilation, which is one of the worst forms of gender-based violence meted on women and girls. And as a voice of other women, I stand here and I say the best person to protect her daughter from FGM is her mother. I am a mother of a daughter, that's my biological daughter, but I'm a mother of many other daughters in this country and beyond, and I'm a voice of other girls. And I'm saying that we can end FGM in our generation. We can end FGM if every woman in this country, if every woman in the world can be able to protect her own daughter from FGM. I'm very happy today because survivors of FGM have started getting their voices out. They've started speaking up and speaking for themselves and for their daughters. Because even if we put the police in every household, they would never be the best protectors of our daughters than their mothers. The mothers are the best protectors. I'm not saying that men should not be in the conversation. The men are the gatekeepers of culture. They are the ones who sit at the door. They are the ones who sit at the gate. And so we are telling our husbands, our fathers, our grandfathers, our brothers, that it is time for you to come and support women and say enough is enough and we cannot continue cutting our girls. During this season, 2 months, our daughters are at home. What I want to tell every mother out there, please, 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 make sure your daughter is safe. The blood and pain of your daughter, you'll carry it forever if you do not protect her from this harm, if you do not allow her to be the woman that God created her to be. You carried her for 9 months. How are you not able to protect her from female genital mutilation? How are you not able to make sure that your girl is safe? You don't have to wait for anyone else to come and save your daughter. You are the only one who can save her from female genital mutilation. A time has come for the voices of survivors, of the women who have gone through the pain, the 200 million women, to save the next generation of girls and women. And that is why our grassroots women are here. Women who are from counties that practice FGM. Women who have decided they are going to use their voices to end FGM are here today. And this is the second time we are coming to speak about this. And in December this year, we are going to have the first conference of FGM survivors in Isiolo, where women who have gone through the pain will meet. They will be taken through psychosocial support. They'll be able to speak about this, and they'll be able to say enough is enough. We are also going to have the first copy of FGM survivors' voices, where women who have gone through FGM will be giving their stories through a book that we will launch during the Survivors Forum. And we will want more women to come out, because if they don't come out, then we will not be able to tell our daughters that it is not right for them to go through this pain. And the book that we are going to launch will be used in schools, and girls will read, boys will read in schools, so that we can have the next generation of women and boys who will be championing against this practice. And I know we will end this earlier than Vision 2030 and earlier than SDGs 2030. Kenya, we are on the road. Kenya, we are ending FGM. Kenya, we are leading in the world in this campaign. And I want to thank our frontline. I cannot thank them enough. Today we have Mumina here, we have Sadia, we have Josephine. Mumina did not cry when she was telling her story. 3 years ago, we would really try to have a number of tissues where she was crying, but today she's a strong woman and she's able to tell her stories. So that means we'll have more women coming out and telling their stories. And there is no other better way to end FGM than to tell our stories. Thank you very much. I want to take this opportunity to invite the chairperson of the board, who is also a survivor of FGM, a mother, a community champion, a woman who has walked this journey, and a voice in her community in Narok, a powerful voice. And we know that the president did not go wrong in making sure that the chair of the anti-FGM board is a woman who has a voice in this area. Welcome, Madam Ipato.
Thank you. As she has just mentioned, my name is Ipato Suru, the National Chair for Anti-FGM Board. The CEO. Yeah?
Can you start the introduction?
My name is Ipato Suru, the National Chair for Anti-FGM Board. Also very glad to be with the survivors of FGM. I normally say FGM is the genesis of gender-based violence on especially women. It is the main entrance of any form of GBV on women. Before you are aged enough, you are undertaken through FGM at a very tender age of between 12 and 14. That's still a child who needs really to be under the wings of her mother for protection. After that, eventually the mind of that child changes from being a child to having a notion of being a woman whom she is really not, because of the utterances that she hears from the people who are putting her on the cart. While in the process, you are held, someone holds one of your legs, another one holds the other one. One is at the back. And in some cultures, they would do it thoroughly and extensively bad until you could feel the bone. So it's not just a cut. I think mutilation is the word enough for the same. It's not a cut. A cut can just be a slight one, but to mutilate is like, naweza sema kurarua ama kufanya nini? Could destroy. Okay. So you can imagine somebody sitting down and in less than 5 minutes, the wound you are carrying is you are able to feel the bone. And after some other hours, like 3-4 hours, you are again taken outside, again to check whether they had left something. And the more they find that there was slight flesh left, they cut. And then blood flows like ni kama kuchinjwa. So being survivors is not just anything, but that is the real survival. And from that, you now start the surviving. You survive the FGM. You again survive the early marriage. While you are still a child, you get pregnant at around, like for my firstborn, I got my firstborn at 17. That is still very young. Before that, so it is now FGM, school dropout, teenage pregnancy, early marriage at the same time. Before 16, you had all that form of GBV on you. From there, it is not surprisingly that you still survive the bullying of a husband, especially for the pastoralist communities. For the Maasais, I was married in a family of a polygamous of 3 wives. So I was the 3rd one. So you could imagine being young, have undergone all this. Again, you have a person close to 20 years gap, age difference. You still have the trauma of these other women. These are women who have already established their houses. They now know how to hold that man. You don't know yourself. They know how to look after the cattle. You are just from school. So you can imagine the trauma. All the same, we are healing. And that's why we are coming out strongly to say that we are survivors and we are ready to save the next generation. Where it started, I came into this family. We are 3 in number. The first wife had 4 girls. Second one had 7. I have 3 myself, a total of 14 girls. And I'm very proud that I was able to save 8 out of the 14 girls. Indiscriminatively, I did not need to know whether the child is mine or from another woman. She's still a girl. That's why we are coming out as the anti-FGM board and listening to the voices of survivors and bringing on board young mothers who have undergone through the cut and who are still rearing these girls. Because if it were not for the training from partners of anti-FGM that we got while young, these girls will not be saved. But because we got training from them, we were trained when we were still rearing girls, then we were now able to take that initiative and to come out strong in those families and say that these girls will not go through the cut. So, as we are here today, we are thankful to the conveners of this meeting, this forum, and we are really willing as a board to hold your hands and to support wherever necessary or wherever we could to save this nation from FGM. We are proud that we are among the first countries in this region of East Africa working strongly against FGM. In fact, I can proudly say it is only in Kenya that we have a body in place that is fighting against FGM. We have immense support from our president. He is our champion #1. And that's why he sees that the chairperson of this board should always be a survivor of FGM. Bringing out the statement clearly that the wearer of the shoe knows where it pinches most. You cannot come as someone who has not undergone FGM and still have that courage to say that girls should not be circumcised, because what experience do you have yourself? But for whoever that has undergone the cut and who has experienced more other things on the way, has the guts and the muscle to say that any other girl behind me should not go through FGM. So thank you so much. Thanks a lot, my sister. Thanks a lot, Josephine. And for the forum, I don't know how we will start, because I don't think one day will be enough for us. We need to hold hands to know how we will support that forum. For women survivors to get at least 1 or 2 days there. Thank you so much. And again, I can say our president is our #1 champion. He is not like any other politician. Most politicians don't want to mention FGM in order to secure votes for them in the next election. Our president does not care. When he goes to Korea, that is his first statement, that FGM is not something to be discussed as at now. It is something that needs to have gone behind us so that we go forward building the nation with other things. During campaigns, we had a UDA, a Kenya Kwanza Women's Charter. In the charter, we made him commit on how he would assist us fight FGM in Kenya once he is elected president. And he committed that once he comes in as president, he will fund the board by giving us an increment of 150%. He has actualized the promise, and in this financial year, we received the total amount of 150% increment as a board. So he says, we are saying it is up to 2030, but to him, in his mind, he's saying he needs FGM out of Kenya before that.
Thank you so much for watching the Survivor Safe Space 2nd edition. Until next time, I'm your host, Sadia Hussein. Don't miss out next time.